Well, good evening, everybody. I hope you're enjoying those videos. I'm sorry I had to cut them short. I almost popped up as well, didn't I, beforehand? I was pressing the wrong button. So, yes, good evening, good evening, good evening. So that was those were some videos from our 2019 Britannia Open titles. Seems like forever ago now. Hopefully we'll have the 2020 videos soon as well, so we can sit back and enjoy those fantastic cabaret performances and all of the other things that went on, the competition and that sort of thing. So it'll be great, won't it? How are we all this evening? Are we good? Did you have a nice quiz yesterday? I hope you all enjoyed it. I had fun today doing all the answers. There were some very interesting answers and some very good performances as well from some people. I was very impressed. But the fact there was no joke around helped to keep it kind of even, really. So no one really jumped ahead of anyone else. It was kind of level pegging most of the way through. So it's interesting. It's an interesting one. So without further ado, I'm just gonna crack on into the results. I think that's probably the best thing to do, don't you think? Yeah, I'm not sure if everyone's here to listen. You can of course watch this later, watch it back. There's nothing wrong with that. So, should we make a start? Shall we? Let's. So, all jumbled up was round one, and the majority of you did quite well on this, let's be honest. So, although there were a few of you that didn't do so well. So, just looking down the list here, we did have 3 teams that got 10 out of 10 with their results here on that one. One got only 1 out of 10, which was tricky, that. I appreciate some of them are pretty difficult, and if you're not good with anagrams, I'm not good with anagrams at all. So if you've got no idea, then if you're not, yeah. But no, actually, looking down, I'm lying to you. Actually, people didn't do so well. So we had 3 10s, as I say, but then the average was about a 3 or the average was about 4. Actually, 4 out of 10. We had a couple of 8s, a 7, lots and lots of 3s, lots of 3s. So let's get the answers up, shall we? So, the first one. Matt Dreams. What was Matt Dreams? Well, it was, of course, Amsterdam. Amsterdam. I think a lot of you got that. I think almost everyone got that one. Even the person that got 1 out of 10. The second one, a periodical donor. That was, of course, Leonardo DiCaprio. Bless his little cotton socks. Number 3 was Stab Arrival. Now, Stab Arrival, I know the answer, of course. So looking at it, it's to me, when I look at Stab Arrival, it just seems really simple and really clear. It was, of course, Bratislava, the capital of Slovakia. Number 4, Lock Moths. Now, I'm not sure what lock moths are. I suppose a room that you don't go into very often. So the lock where you put the key, it's got lots of moths because there's no keys going in, the room's locked. Stockholm, capital of Sweden, of course. Defensible cash ram. Now this was a tricky one. Not everyone got this one. There was only 3, I think, that got this, which were the 3 that got all 10 right, I think. And that was Michael Fassbender. Very good actor, half German, I believe, or born in Germany. Tinsel tweak. Well, you've got to tweak your tinsel, haven't you? Especially on the Christmas tree at Christmas. That was, of course, Kate Winslet. Number 7, bad salami, which no one wants a bad salami, do they? No one wants that. No, but that was Islamabad, capital of Pakistan. Ego sprain. This foxed a few of you. You weren't quite sure about this one. That was, of course, Singapore. So the capital of Singapore is Singapore. And number 9, mice tours. Well, this was, of course, Tom Cruise. And the last one, perm restyle. Well, if you're getting perms regularly, you need to get it restyled, don't you? Because otherwise it just goes flat and falls out. My hair's almost long enough to have a perm now. So, maybe I'll bring back a 1980s Kevin Keegan perm, perhaps. I'll dig Michelle suit out, perhaps, as well. No, I'm not going to say that sort of thing because people are going to challenge me to do that. I'm not going to do it. Meryl Streep was the answer to number 10. Yeah, so that round was a tricky one for some of you. So the teams that got 10 out of 10, just to let you know, just to show off, that were Dancing Fools. They're no fools when it comes to anagrams. 10 out of 10 there. And also Team GKN, very well done to you. And the Wise Guys. So the top 2 from last week, maximum points to start with in round 1. Commendable, and a good commendation mention to Imanur. They got 8 out of 10 in that round, which I'm sure they'll be shocked about. And Car Dancer as well got 8. And then there were a few 7s. I won't say who got 1 out of 10. That's not fair, is it? That's not fair. So, round 2 was Double Trouble. Now, Double Trouble, I'm going to have to go to the other window for this one, so you get to know, so we know who's who. This one was an interesting round because some of you really didn't know who these two were at all. Not this particular one, but in the pictures, and we did get some really cracking answers. So this, of course, was, I remember this from a child, Bert and Ernie, and the arrow was pointing at Bert. So that's 1 point if you get all of that. If you only got Bert and Ernie, it's half a point. If you just said Bert, it's half a point. Okay. If you said Bert and Ernie and it was Ernie, half a point. So that was question 1. Question 2. Now, again, from my childhood a little bit, and some of those of you that I would have expected not to necessarily know the answer to this one did get it right. That was, of course, Beavis and Butthead, and the arrow was pointing at Butthead. Yes. Yeah. I'm not going to do more of that. Now, some people are saying before their time a little bit, but it wasn't really before their time. It just looks like it was because it was in a black and white picture. But I actually do quite like these two. And this was, of course, Hinge and Bracket. And that arrow was pointing at Bracket. Let me move my picture up. There we go. There you go. So there. It says Bracket. All right, Hinge and Bracket. I'll put myself back now. So this was, I can't remember, someone's answer on this one was particularly funny. I can't remember what it was. I should write these funny ones down, actually, because yeah, it was funny. It was so funny I can't remember it. But anyway, this is Simon and Garfunkel, and the arrow was, of course, pointing at Paul Simon. Lovely perm there. He's obviously had a perm restyle as Art Garfunkel there. So the next one now. This one was a little bit of a trick, unfortunately, because this is a very young picture of these two, and before Ant and Dec were Ant and Dec, they were someone else, or they were another duo, and this is a picture from their early days when they were in fact PJ and Duncan. So it was PJ and Duncan, and that was Duncan. That's from their Biker Grove days. I'm going to make myself a bit smaller so that I can fit in the corner here. Yeah, so yeah, PJ and Duncan, I'm afraid. And only one team got that correct. Another team said it, but didn't say it as their first answer. But I gave them half a point because that was only nice, just being nice. But that was PJ and Duncan from Biker Grove, and they did some songs. Who is this? I've got to move my face again because I know where this is coming up. So this is a magic duo in their early years. And that was Penn and Teller. And the arrow was pointing at Penn. Another interesting couple. Now, one team did come up with, they thought it was Wham. They thought it was George Michael and Andrew Ridgeley. Oddly enough, I'm pretty sure that George Michael and Andrew Ridgeley weren't twins. It's a bit tricky to miss the fact that these two look identical. And that was, of course, Bros. And the arrow was pointing at Matt Goss. Luke Goss, to be fair, is now bald. Or he shaved his head. I don't know. But it looks like he's bald. Whereas Matt Goss has got a full head of hair. So either Matt Goss has had a hair transplant, or Luke Goss is shaving his head, or he's got a bit more stress. I think he lives in America. So maybe he's a bit more stressed. I've got to move myself again. Now this wasn't... what did someone say? They thought it was Kenny Everett. This is not Kenny Everett. Kenny Everett was never part of a duo. This was, of course, Chaz and Dave. And that was Chaz, who passed away, I believe, last year or the year before. So, yeah, that was Chaz and Dave. And the penultimate team or duo, this wasn't Dempsey and Makepeace. The picture's far too American. You can tell this is an American show. That was, of course, Cagney and Lacey, and the arrow was pointing at Lacey. And finally, the last duo. This was, of course, the Chuckle Brothers, and that was Paul Chuckle. So well done for those of you that got that right. Some of you did quite well in that round. No one got maximum points in that round at all. So the top score was 7.5. No one got more than 7.5. And we had 1, 2, 3, 4 teams getting 7.5. And I'll just praise those of you that did that. So Blendworth Beauties, you got 7.5 out of 10. Fine Pair of Shoulders, you also got 7.5 out of 10. Rushin, you got 7.5 out of 10, and the last team to get 7.5 out of 10 were the Barn Dancers. So well done there indeed. We did have a couple of 3s, a 2, a couple of 2s actually, some 6s and 7s, 5.5 or so. Yeah, so it was a tricky round, that one. If you're not too familiar with if you weren't too familiar, I say, with those teams, then yeah, that would be difficult, wouldn't it? So well done anyway. So back to round 3, back to the big picture, the cryptic factor. So this one was a cryptic question to get a popular TV show. So the first one was Humpty Dumpty and Family. So what's Humpty Dumpty? What is he? He's an egg. So Humpty Dumpty and Family, eggheads. That is the answer there to that one. Where the Chain Broke. Now that's, I'd like to think, was a relatively easy one. Of course, the weakest link. The weakest link was question 2. Number 3, Cockneys. Not Only Fools and Horses. The only answer to this one really is EastEnders. Money in the Loft. Well, of course, that was Cash in the Attic. Next Door, Either Side. Again, I think everybody got this one right. Neighbours. Because that's either side, isn't it? Unless you live in the middle of nowhere. But even then, to be fair, you've got neighbours, even if they're 100 miles away. Staying in is obviously not going out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What are you doing? You're counting down. So, of course, countdown. Wonderful View. Now, this one caught a few people. Wonderful View. A wonderful view is often called a panorama. So, of course, the answer is panorama. Now, the final drink of the season is, again, I think this was a unanimous across the board. I think most people got this one right. That was Last of the Summer Wine. And the last one, TV's Fat People, not The Biggest Loser. It is, of course, Teletubbies. So, which I thought was quite funny. Some of you did very well in this round. Most people did quite well in this round, actually. So we've got an 8, 6, 8, and then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams on 10 out of 10. So the first ones were Blenworth Beauties and the Brecon Beacons. You got 10 out of 10. Dancing Fools also got 10 out of 10 on that round. So did Imanur. Imanur, actually, you know, you've not been that prolific through the weeks. However, this has been, I think, your most successful round to date. Or, sorry, week to date. Team GKN, you got 10 out of 10 as well. And just to keep things interesting, so did the Wise Guys. So the top 2, again, got 10 out of 10. Just to let you know as well. So Team GKN got 7 in the last round, and the Wise Guys got 5. So the Wise Guys dropping a few points to Team GKN in the leaderboard. And as I say, the average there was around 8, 7 or 8 there. So most people did quite well with that one. So round 4 was Who's That? Now we've got, this was our voice round. So I'm going to play these through as we did last night. I've muted everything. So let's see if this works. Hopefully it will work and it doesn't give you an echo so that you can hear who is who. Okay, so this was voice number 1.
I've buried a bag of sand, which is £1,000.
And that was, of course, the irrepressible Danny Dyer. Danny Dyer, not Robert Redford. Someone said Robert Redford. We were desperate. Who was desperate? What are you talking about? What are you talking about, Eileen Hawkins, saying you're desperate? What were you desperate for? I'm not sure I want to know what you're desperate for. So I think a lot of you that actually answered that question got that right once we got the audio problems fixed. So, voice number 2 was...
What do you call that twiddling action?
And that was, of course, Holly Willoughby. I think most of you got that right as well. I think a few of you did come up with some funny, interesting answers on that one, but nothing that really rings true at the moment. Anyway, voice number 3 was...
If I need to go there and need to be miserable, I'd rather not to do it.
Gino D'Acampo. So it wasn't a dancer. It wasn't Vincent Simone. It wasn't Giovanni Pernice. It was Gino D'Acampo. And I think a lot of you got that right anyway as well. So, voice number 4. Here we go.
Because if you did, your neck would break. It would fall off.
So voice number 4 was the Queen. So it wasn't Judi Dench. It wasn't Helen Mirren. It was... Oh, they're not the camera then. It was, in fact, the Queen, or Princess Anne. She was talking about... I got that from a clip of her talking about her crown jewels. Nothing like the Queen talking about her crown jewels, is there? As long as it wasn't Prince Charles talking about his crown jewels. So, voice number 5. Here it comes.
Very good idea, but I can't talk about it now.
So voice number 5 was Donald Trump. I think most of you got that right as well. It should have been very clear. So voice number 6. Tricky one, this. Tricky one.
It's the second most important day of my life.
That was, of course, me. Some of you thought it was Mo Farah. Odd. Yeah, that was definitely me. And actually, if you'd watched the little intro video that I put on last night, it was a clip of me taken from that when I was talking to Erin. So had you been watching that, had you been studying it, not that you would have known, you'd have heard it on there. Voice number 7.
Where you can drink yourself sober.
Unbelievably, that was Lorraine Kelly talking about a time, I got that from Would I Lie to You actually, where she was talking about going for lunch after a stint on This Morning at 12:30, and started drinking at 12:30 and finished drinking at 3 o'clock in the morning when she then had to go to work for the next day. And yeah, it was, she'd been drinking all day and she went to work drunk, and it was true apparently. So there we go. Don't try that at home, kids. Voice number 8.
Mate, I saw this purple dragon the other day.
And that was Idris Elba, which I know is a bit tricky. Some of you got it right, some of you didn't. But I know that was a tricky one. And that was taken from a YouTube thing that he was doing, where he was just talking about English slang. Very strange. Very strange video, actually. Voice number 9 was this.
But I was very happy to fill those shoes.
And that was, of course, Shirley Ballas, talking about replacing Len Goodman on Strictly Come Dancing and filling his shoes. So yes, I think a very distinctive voice. And if you're a big dancing fan, if you're a Strictly fan, then of course you would have had that voice in your head. And last but not least, voice number 10 was...
Hello, everybody.
A tricky one, I know, because it was very short. But that was, of course, Peter Kay, when he was doing his little recent speech about coming back. He's been away for ages, hasn't he? And doing They'll Show Me the Way to Amarillo again. Well done, everyone. So that was pretty good. Some of you did really well. Some of you did not at all. So we did have one team that got all 10. Oh, we got 2 teams, sorry, that got all 10 of those right. So that was tremendous. And that was Baps & Co. Well done, Baps & Co. And Paul Dubeck and Kelly Byer got 10 out of 10 on that round as well. So that was tremendous. We did have a few 9s. We had a 9 for Better Latter Than Never. Also 9 for Car Dancers. And another 9 down here, the bottom of the list, for The Wise Guys and Too Hot to Foxtrot. So Wise Guys pulled back a few more points. pull back those 2 points actually because Team GKN only got 7. So the average there, I would say, was about 5 or 6 for the majority of people. A few 7s though, and a few 6s, a couple of 2s and some 3s. So I appreciate some of them were a bit tricky. So on to the final round, your 5th and final round, which was of course our quick fire round. Let's get back to the right thing. Don't want that one, do we? Want the round 5 results. I've just got to change that up the top there. It's all got to be correct and perfect. Now, the quick fire knowledge round. Tricky for some, easy for others, but of course the answers are on the screen, so you can just guess and you could randomly get them all correct. How many strings are there on a Spanish guitar? 6. There are 6 strings on a Spanish guitar. When standing, pigs cannot see the sky. Is absolutely true, because they cannot lift their head and their eyes are fixed like this, so they can't see the sky at all. So if you attack them from the top, perfect. They've got no chance of seeing you coming. Which city was the original called Leningrad? There was a typo there, I'm very sorry. Which city was originally called Leningrad? Yeah, that was my mistake there, I do apologise, but I think you got the gist. It was, of course, St. Petersburg. Which is the most visited country in the world? Now, this was a bit of a surprise. I wasn't expecting this as well, actually, when I looked into this. But I guess you could say it because so many countries border it and going in, I guess. But it is, in fact, France. France is the most visited country in the world. And if you've never been to France, it's delightful. Certain places are horrible. But most of it that I've been to anyway, some of the lovely places we've been to, we've driven through France a number of times. Fabulous. Absolutely delightful. I'm on round 5, Kel. So actually, I'll be done in a minute. I'll have it downstairs. Pop some foil on it.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
My dinner's ready. My dinner's ready. It's going to be a short one tonight. Getting through these answers quite quickly. Question 5, 0131 is the dialing code for which British city? Was it Newcastle? Was it Edinburgh? It was, of course, Edinburgh, as they say in America. Which was the first Carry On movie to be made in colour? When I did this question, I did a little bit of research, of course, and it's made me want to watch a few Carry On films again. I haven't seen them for a long time. I'm thinking I'll watch it and think it's absolutely rubbish. But it was Carry On Cruising. So I might watch one of those. We might even watch one tonight. I might put Kelly through it. I don't think she's ever seen a Carry On film. So that would be funny, won't it? We could do a Carry On round, couldn't we? Oh, we'd have to do some research though, wouldn't we? Have to watch Carry On films all week. How many floors did each of the World Trade Towers have? Now, they were very tall. They were, of course, the tallest buildings in the world for a while. 110 floors. 110 floors. Just think about that. Just absorb that for a moment. So 220 floors of concrete and steel crashing to the ground. Shocking. We've been to the memorial there in New York, and it's quite poignant. Very poignant. And it's just immense. The footprint of those buildings is vast. And to think that they used to have 110 floors up above and then they all came crashing down. Shocking. Shocking state of affairs. Which horror character is Bram Stoker famous for creating? Of course, it is Dracula. I can't remember who created Frankenstein. What was it? Mary Shelley, wasn't it? Mary Shelley did that. So yeah, Dracula was Bram Stoker's creation. Number 9. Which Spice Girl had a #1 single with I Turn to You? It was, of course, Mel C. Melanie Chisholm. She did it. And she's had another single recently, actually, talking about going out dancing in high heel shoes or something like that. You listen to it first of all and you think that's a bit of a naff song, but then the more you listen to it, unfortunately, it kind of sticks in your head, and it's a bit too Moorish. Question number 10. Which year saw the first Wimbledon match played under the closed roof on centre court? Now, a lot of you got this wrong. Now, you must have thought it was sooner. It was more recent than that. And it was, of course, 2009. So 11 years ago. It does seem, I mean, those of you that watch tennis, it does seem as though it was more recent than that. But it was 2009. So, there we go. That was our quiz for April the 29th. So, on that round, no one got 10 out of 10. No one even got 9 out of 10. But we did have a couple of 8s. We had 1, 2 8s, only 2 8s. And then the majority 4, 5 and 6. And then a few 7s. Yeah. So the guys that were battling it out at the top. Again, so Team GKN, you got 7 points, and the Wise Guys only got 4 on that round. So, yeah, so you lost a bit of ground, Wise Guys, to Team GKN this week. But well done to a fine pair of shoulders on that round. You got 8 out of 10, and then also 8 out of 10 to Tequila Mockingbird, who, after a few weeks of being in the doldrums a little bit, they've finally pulled themselves together and had a good round for once, or a good week. Yeah, Eileen, you're going to put your dunce's hats back on. Well, you didn't do too bad. Let me have a look. Yeah, you did. Yeah, you didn't do too bad. Well, you'll see in a moment when I call up the leaderboard. So, this is how things look at the moment. Where's the leaderboard? Here we go. Here's the leaderboard. So, still on top are the Wise Guys, but Team GKN have reined them in slightly, and they're only half a point behind now. Car Dancers are back up to 3rd place, I think. Or maybe they were in 3rd place last week. I can't remember. Tequila Mockingbird did quite well in that round, 37. So she gained a bit of ground as well. So there's a few of you now stuck there in between. It's only 7 points between 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th. Then a little bit of a gap between 6th and 7th. And again, another little bunch of you down there on 236.5 to 243.5. So it's all quite close. Middle of the table's quite close. And down the bottom there, I think we might have to drop a few of these teams off because they haven't played for quite a while now. And so, but anyway, we'll leave them there at the moment because it fits on the screen there. So this board's going to get wider. It's not going to get necessarily any longer, but it's going to get wider. So yeah, that's the leaderboard. So if you're interested in your change of positions over the last couple of weeks, so Team GKM were the winners of that particular round. Sorry, this week. The Wise Guys were 2nd. Tequila Mockingbird, as I say, moved up to 3rd on that one. And Car Dancers were 6th, so they dropped a few places this particular week. So 5th last week. Well, only 1 place actually. So Tequila Mockingbird did quite well, up from 10th last week. The Wise Guys, in fact, actually, you were 10th last week, which is when you dropped a few points. But back to form again this week with 2 into 2nd place. But the Barn Dancers, after a stonking 1st place last week, dropped down to 18th in this week's showing. So that's a bit of a loss of form there. And equally, there's a bit of a change of fortunes for Baps & Co. They're 3rd last week and 15th this week. So all interesting, all to play for still, all to play for that wonderful box of biscuits, which actually hasn't been touched for a couple of weeks now. So you're okay. You're okay. So I still think you're going to have some biscuits to eat. Anyway, so well done, everyone. Thank you for joining in. Oh, don't get depressed, Margaret. Don't get depressed. These are tricky rounds. You're in there on your own. A lot of these people that do these quizzes, there's 2 or 3 of them in a household. One team, there's 4 of them, so they've got lots of input. And I'm sure that some people are cheating, Margaret. I'm sure they're cheating. I'm sure they are. And you know what I'm talking about. So don't get depressed. Maybe next week will be a round that you're more familiar with. Clothes perhaps. Clothes or wardrobe space-saving ideas, Margaret, perhaps, or heel heights for shoes, perhaps. Maybe that'll work for you. Anyway, yeah, so once again, thank you very much for joining in, guys. Thank you so much for your continued support and joining us each week. And Wednesday nights, Thursday nights, Friday nights, Tuesdays now for ballet with Jessica and Matteo. During the week, Mondays to Saturday for our workout class, and then our class with Matteo and Jessica on Saturday nights as well. So we really do appreciate you stopping by. We're quite enjoying doing all of this. It is a bit taxing at times doing all of the work for the quiz and everything. Trying to come up with questions for you is tricky. So Mondays, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, my mind is frazzled trying to look for questions. But anyway, thank you so much. We hope you're enjoying it. I think you are, which is great. You wouldn't be coming back each week if you weren't. So we'll keep on going. So I've updated the website today with... It's on our news page. It comes up, actually. Once you go to the website, Dizzyfeet.com now, it comes up with a little pop-up and tells you about the schedule. So you know what's coming each day and time, and where you can find it, what you can actually do with us. So if you're interested in having a look at that, check it out on our website. So that's it now. I'm going to have my dinner, and I'll see some of you tomorrow morning, I'm sure, at 10:30 for our lockdown workout, and then tomorrow night at 6:30 for another Friday night pre-dinner drink session with Kelly and I. Probably indoors, I think, tomorrow. I think the weather's going to be a bit naff again over the weekend. So I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow night. Stay safe, stay healthy, keep enjoying yourselves, have fun, and I'll see you soon. Cheers, everyone.